Alright, listen up, pixel punks and joystick junkies. Not every great game needs to come from a mega corporation with $1 billion budget and a logo that plays before a Marvel movie. Sometimes it's the tiny studios, the ones running on ramen noodles and pure caffeine that drop the real bombs. The games that hit you right in the feels, make your brain melt, or let you shoot an assault rifle while riding a sheep. So if you're tired of 200-hour AAA slogs filled with upgrade trees thicker than Tolkien's appendices, welcome to BitCrush's 20 indie bangers that slap harder than your first crush's rejection. Let's go. Blasphemous 2. So, Blasphemous 2. Imagine if Dark Souls went to Catholic school and got really into Baroque horror. You're a silent, pointy-helmeted penitent who fights screaming saints and bleeding angels with a sword forged from guilt and nightmares. It's stunning and disturbing. The world is brutal. The bosses look like they escaped from a medieval fever dream. And the pixel art? Honestly, it's so beautiful I wanted to frame some of the death animations. They also fixed the worst sins of the first game. Better traversal, tighter levels, less confusing backtracking. Thank the grotesque bleeding baby saint. This is not your average Metroidvania. It's poetic, brutal, and will make you feel guilty for not playing it sooner. Stray. Let me tell you something. I did not expect to cry while playing as a ginger cat in a hoodie-sized cyberpunk dystopia, and yet, here we are. Stray is not just a game. It's an emotional support animal with neon lighting. You start off being a regular alley cat, doing cat stuff, knocking over cups, meowing at robots, slipping through cracks, and suddenly you're solving the existential crisis of an entire underground city populated by the most depressed androids in gaming. I spent more time curled up in little napping spots than actually playing the main quest. And yet, somehow, this game made me feel more human than most games where you actually play as a human. The movement is fluid, the atmosphere is insane, and let's be real, every time I meowed, a part of me healed. Also, fun fact, you can trip robots on purpose. Game of the year. Outer Wilds. Not to be confused with The Outer Worlds. Outer Wilds is what happens when you combine space exploration with Groundhog Day and philosophical dread. Every 22 minutes the sun explodes, you die, you restart. But instead of rage quitting, you start learning. And that's the whole game. You explore planets that literally change shape in real time. One is getting swallowed by sand from its twin, another has a black hole at its core, and you're on a janky wooden spaceship with duct tape holding it together. No upgrades, no power-ups, just knowledge. It's one of the most satisfying gameplay loops I've ever experienced. The sense of mystery is unmatched. The emotional gut punches? Real. The ending? I sat in silence for 15 minutes after. If you like your games cosmic, cryptic, and crushingly beautiful, Outer Wilds is a masterpiece. Don't spoil it, just go. Disco Elysium. This game didn't just let me play a detective, it made me question if I should be one. In Disco Elysium, you wake up with a hangover so catastrophic it practically has its own zip code. You're a disaster in a wrinkled tie, solving a murder while your inner monologue, which is somehow 24 different voices, argues about everything from philosophy to pants. There's no combat, no fetch quests, just you, your choices, and the city of Revachol, where everyone is either messed up, deeply poetic, or both. I spent an entire hour trying to get a corpse down from a tree, debated communism with my subconscious, and emotionally broke down over a sad karaoke song. This game isn't fun in the usual sense. It's raw, weird, and occasionally so bleak, it loops back into being hilarious. If you want a game that feels like reading a gritty detective novel while drunk and deeply existential, this is it. Death's Door. Imagine this. You're a tiny crow. You wear a tie, and your job is literally to harvest souls like it's casual 9-to-5 corporate bureaucracy. But make it goth. Welcome to Death's Door, where the combat is tighter than your budget after Steam sales, and the bosses are emotionally repressed nightmares. Now, this one hits like Zelda on espresso. You get melee combos, ranged attacks, dodge rolls, and the kind of enemy design that makes you whisper nope under your breath before getting obliterated anyway. But it's not just the combat. The world is layered, strange, funny, and quietly devastating in ways you wouldn't expect. I laughed, I cried, I screamed at a giant frog wizard, and honestly, I'd do it all again. Bonus points for the soundtrack. It makes death feel oddly comforting, which is either amazing design or a cry for help I haven't unpacked yet. The Stanley Parable, Ultra Deluxe. I pressed a button, then another one, then the narrator judged me. Welcome to the Stanley Parable, where the main antagonist is a sassy British voice that gaslights you in 4K. This game isn't a game, it's a psychological maze designed by an office worker having a breakdown in a cubicle. You walk, the game talks. You disobey, the game adapts. There's a broom closet ending. There's a Minecraft bit. There's even an ending where the game breaks itself out of spite. The Ultra Deluxe Edition just takes that mind-bending experience and slathers it with more absurdity. I once spent 15 minutes walking in a circle while the narrator begged me to stop. And I didn't. It's philosophical, hilarious, and occasionally deeply unsettling. It's like a TED Talk and a comedy sketch had a digital baby. Don't try to win this game. You can't. You're not Stanley. You're a concept. And your concept just hit a metaphorical wall. Inside. So Inside. If Limbo was the creepy first date, Inside is the full-blown existential relationship. No HUD, no dialogue, just vibes. Bleak, disturbing, meticulously crafted vibes. You play as a faceless boy with the most haunting walk cycle ever committed to pixels. I swear, every step he takes feels like he's carrying the weight of your childhood trauma. And then the world? It's like Orwell and Lynch teamed up after binge-watching Black Mirror. At one point, I was hiding from floodlights behind floating pig carcasses. Later, I was swimming with, let's call them aquatic friends that make sirens look like spa day buddies. The puzzles are slick, but it's the storytelling through the environment that kicks you in the soul. No exposition, just pure, what the hell is that energy? And don't even get me started on the ending. I sat there, mouth open, controller dropped, questioning reality. Inside isn't just a game. It's a quiet scream into the void, and I loved every second of it. Vampire Survivors. You know those games you boot up just to try for 5 minutes? Yeah, Vampire Survivors is the one that eats your entire weekend. You start as a pixelated blob with a whip, surrounded by skeletons, and within 10 minutes you're an eldritch god melting enemies by walking near them. There's no jump, no shoot, you just move and survive while your screen turns into a pixel apocalypse. And it slaps, hard. The loop is dangerously addictive. Kill, level up, become death incarnate, repeat. The upgrades stack in such stupidly broken ways that 1 minute you're dodging for your life, and the next you're auto-casting 200 garlic auras that vaporize reality. This game is a pure dopamine drip. No lore, no cutscenes, just chaos. If Disco Elysium is a whiskey-soaked novel, Vampire Survivors is 5 cans of Monster and a speedrun through an 8-bit rave. Palworld. Take Pokemon, remove the wholesomeness, inject chaos, and strap a rocket launcher to Pikachu's cousin. That's Palworld. This game is what happens when someone says, "What if Pokemon had guns?" and then actually followed through. And look, it shouldn't work, but it does. You're capturing creatures, sure, but then you're also building factories, making them do manual labor, fighting off raids, and occasionally handing them a shotgun. It's morally ambiguous, mechanically messy, and completely hilarious. And I played way longer than I'm comfortable admitting. My fire rabbit once saved my life by throwing a Molotov. That sentence alone makes this game worth it. It's like if Animal Crossing got militarized and drank Red Bull straight from a skull. Is it balanced? Not at all. Is it brilliant? Absolutely. 10/10 for absurdity. And look, I get it. Some people say it's a ripoff. Those people are wrong, and probably boring at parties. Freedom Planet. This one's for the what if Sonic had depth and better boss fights crowd. Freedom Planet absolutely rips. It started as a fan project but morphed into something more. a side-scrolling, color-blasting, adrenaline-pumping roller coaster that somehow balances 90s nostalgia with real modern finesse. I played as Lilac, a purple dragon thing that moves like she's got caffeine for blood. You can zip around, bounce off enemies, wall jump like a cracked-out ninja, and somehow not get a headache from the speed. And don't get me started on the bosses. Giant mechs, laser death wheels, mid-air duels. It's absurd in the best way. Also, full voice acting, actual story, and some surprisingly emotional beats. I caught feelings, like multiple times. And for a game that looks like a Saturday morning cartoon, it hits. Trust me, Freedom Planet isn't just a Sonic clone, it's a glow-up. And if you miss when platformers were fast, weird, and full of heart, this is it. Little Nightmares. You ever want to experience anxiety in playable form? Here's Little Nightmares. It's like someone took your childhood fears, blended them with David Lynch's nightmares, and made a platformer out of it. You play as a tiny kid in a raincoat, in a world where every adult is a literal monster, and not, oh no, they grounded me monster. More like they will eat you whole and pick their teeth with your bones monster. I swear I got PTSD from the janitor's arms alone. This guy's limbs stretch like they were made of old chewing gum and pure trauma. There's no dialogue, no weapons, just you, your oversized environment, and a creeping sense of doom. You run, hide, and hold your breath every 30 seconds. Platforming's a little janky, but that just adds to the panic. It's short, like 5 hours max, but it sticks to your brain like a horror movie you weren't supposed to watch as a kid. Also, don't eat anything in the game. Trust me, you'll thank me later. Return of the Obra Dinn. Okay, this one. Absolute brainbuster, but in the best possible way. Imagine boarding a ghost ship with no crew and only one tool, a magic pocket watch that rewinds time to the moment of someone's death. That's Obra Dinn. It doesn't hold your hand, it doesn't even glance in your general direction. It drops you in and says, "Figure it out, genius." And you do, slowly. It feels like playing 4D chess with a pirate ghost. The game is entirely in monochrome and somehow manages to be more atmospheric than half the AAA games in full 4K HDR. You'll scribble notes like a madman, connect death diagrams like a sleep-deprived insurance adjuster, and feel like the smartest human alive when you ID a sailor from the back of his neck. If you love games that make you feel like a genius and a lunatic, this is the one. Lies of P. What if I told you Pinocchio turned emo, bulked up on Victorian steroids, and started slicing corrupted dolls in half with giant saw blades? That's Lies of P. It's Bloodborne's weird cousin who got kicked out of the family dinner for being a little too into puppetry. This game is not just Souls-like, it's soul-spite. Every boss feels like it personally hates you. But here's the kicker. It's actually fair. The dodge window? Tight. The parries? Clean. The weapons? Absolutely unhinged. You can literally mix and match blades and handles like you're at a Build-A-Blade workshop. And there's this lie system. Yes, a Pinocchio morality mechanic, where lying makes you more human. So naturally, I lied through my wooden teeth to every sad robot I met. The vibes are dark, the music is haunting, and the boss fights are adrenaline shots to the frontal lobe. Pinocchio's never looked cooler. Or more likely to stab you in a cathedral. SOMA. Let me tell you, SOMA didn't scare me with jump scares. No, it made me question if I'm even real. It's a horror game. Yeah, but not the monster kind. It's the what if your consciousness was copied into a metal body and left in an underwater hellscape kind. The game starts like your typical sci-fi, oops, we woke something up story, then sucker punches you with existential dread and robotic whispers. And as you crawl through the rusted corridors of Pathos 2, hearing something in the dark that you pray isn't aware of you? Chef's kiss. The atmosphere is so dense you could slice it with a plasma cutter. The audio design is immaculate. Every distant groan of metal sounds like it's plotting your demise. By the end of SOMA, I was hugging my DualSense like a life raft and staring into space wondering if Christian 2.0 had already taken over. It's horror for people who are terrified of their own brain. 1010 mental breakdown. Into the breach. Tactical nerds assemble. Into the breach is what happens when Chess and Pacific Rim have a minimalist baby and that baby is obsessed with time travel. You command a squad of mechs trying to save humanity from giant bugs, except here, every move is pure strategy, not luck. There's no dice, no RNG, just perfect information and the soul-crushing realization that every mistake is 100% your fault. But when you don't screw up, it's euphoric. I've stared at a single turn for 15 minutes trying to save a building full of people and still failed. Then I restarted. This game turns pain into a puzzle and loss into a lesson. Each squad plays differently, each mission feels fresh, and the clean pixel art makes it feel like your Game Boy just evolved. It's not for the faint of heart, but if you like precision, punishment, and saving the world one square at a time, Into the Breach will own you. Life is Strange. There's time travel, there's teen angst, there's a storm coming, and somehow it all works. Life is Strange is the kind of game you start for the mystery and stay for the emotional gut punches. You play as Max, a high school photographer who can rewind time, which sounds awesome until you realize nothing you do ever feels like the right choice. I tried to save everyone and ended up crying over a photograph. The game hits hard. You're dealing with bullying, suicide, friendship, grief, and sometimes you just want to go back to taking artsy shots of butterflies. Yes, the dialogue sometimes sounds like a 40-year-old guessing how teens talk. Hella much. But the feelings are real. It's part Donnie Darko, part Degrassi, all heartbreak. I wasn't prepared to care this much about fictional students. If you're in the mood to cry, regret everything, and maybe find beauty in small broken things, Life is Strange will destroy you in the best way. Cult of the Lamb. Okay, hear me out. You're a cute cartoon lamb who starts a blood cult. Yes, this game is what happens when you mix Binding of Isaac, Animal Crossing, and a goat-themed metal album. One minute you're slaying heretics in a dungeon with a flaming sword, the next you're assigning your followers to harvest crops and worship you, or clean up their own poop. You run sermons, perform dark rituals, occasionally sacrifice a follower because their vibes were off. I love this game. It lets me be a benevolent leader and a maniacal prophet depending on whether I had coffee that day. The art style? Gorgeous. The humor? So dark it drinks espresso in a cave. The updates keep making the cult management deeper, which means I spend more time debating whether to let Barry the goat eat before I send him to the pit. If you've ever wanted to run a tiny animal-based death cult, congrats! You're home. Gorogoa. Okay, listen. Gorogoa is a game about sliding pictures around in a grid. Sounds boring, right? Wrong. It's a visual puzzle ballet, a hand-drawn brain massage. 1 second you're lining up a fruit bowl, and the next you've unlocked a hidden portal in a church window that drops into a different timeline. It's absurdly elegant. There's no dialogue, no timer, just 4 panels, your curiosity, and a ridiculous amount of aha moments. It's the kind of game where you feel like a wizard just for noticing the shadow of a staircase lines up perfectly when overlaid on a painting. Every interaction feels like you're breaking the rules of reality, gently. Honestly, I didn't even feel like I was playing a game. I felt like I was communing with some ancient logic god who wanted to test if I was worthy. And the answer was, sometimes. But even when I was stuck, I didn't mind. The art was hypnotic. The transitions? Magical. Gorogoa isn't just a puzzle game. It's a quiet revolution in how we think games can tell stories, all through still images that somehow move you. The Case of the Golden Idol. Ever wanted to feel like Sherlock Holmes on a bad acid trip? Welcome to The Case of the Golden Idol. Imagine being dropped into a scene frozen in time and told, "Good luck, loser. Figure out who killed who and why." And somehow it works brilliantly. You're not handed clues. You mine them, scrape them from notes, snoop in bags, spot inconsistencies in teacups, and it makes you feel like a genius. At first I was like, why does this guy have a chicken feather and a torn glove? 20 minutes later I'm screaming, that's how he poisoned the Duke. The art style, lovingly cursed. The UI, brutally unforgiving, but that's part of the charm. By the time I reached the final chapter, I looked like a conspiracy theorist who hadn't slept in a week, red strings everywhere. If you like games that actually trust your brain to function without holding your hand, this one's pure gold. Just maybe don't play it before bed. The art style will haunt you. The Witness. If you've ever wanted to experience a TED Talk given by a sentient hedge maze, The Witness is calling. It's a game that starts with drawing lines on panels and ends with you questioning the nature of reality. No tutorials, no hand-holding, just a beautiful island and brain-melting puzzles everywhere you look. And I mean everywhere. Every rock, every tree shadow, every pattern in the clouds is suspect. I once spent 45 minutes trying to solve what turned out to be a literal bush. A bush. But when it clicks, oh man, it feels like you discovered a secret language written by an alien god of geometry. It's the kind of game where you walk away smarter, or at least convinced you are. Just don't play it when you're hungry or tired. It will destroy you, in the most enlightening way possible. You made it to the end, you beautiful pixel-mashing chaos gremlin. Congratulations, you're officially an indie god. We just deep dived into 20 of the weirdest, smartest, saddest, funniest, and brain-melting indie games out there. And if your backlog wasn't a mess before, well, you're welcome. Here's the thing. These games, they're not just side quests in your AAA-fueled life. They're the main story. The unexpected detour that ends up meaning everything. Whether you were sobbing through Life is Strange, rage puzzling in The Witness, petting cult followers in Cult of the Lamb, or just being a furry little menace in Stray, you felt something. And that's what makes indie games so damn special. So now I need you to do 3 things. Hit that like button like it owes you upgrade materials. Drop a comment with your favorite indie obsession. We're always hunting for the next gem. Subscribe, because this is BitCrush, and we've got more love letters to the overlooked, the underdog, and the pixel punk masterpieces you won't find anywhere else. Until next time, keep your controllers greasy, your indie hearts weird, and remember, the best games aren't always on the biggest shelves. Peace.